Bye, Phil. Okay, we have a presentation now by Anya and Callum. And let's get the title right. You've called it kind of studio technician and engineer. It's kind of covering a couple of incorporating producer by the look of this as well. So it's very much of a recording ilk. Yeah. Once again, a lot of the content most of the guys in the room have covered before. Everybody has got sort of varying degrees of experience and potential in that area. See if you can sort of sway any decisions with regard to kind of primary or secondary job roles. So take it away.
I'll go first. All right. So the normal salary of studio engineer is around 15,000. When you get more experience, it can get up to about 20,000, and then if you're an expert, then it can go up to about 40,000 pounds. Yeah.
The pay kind of depends on the hours. If you do a lot of it, then you're probably getting quite a lot. You're probably getting somewhere near 40,000 or above if you're lucky. And it can be as high as 90,000, but probably like 20,000 still. 15,000.
Right, so the responsibilities is the finished product is pretty much your primary. Yeah.
The responsibilities are probably knowing about the equipment and the software that's being used, maintaining it, and doing stuff for the producer, like plugging in things, or setting up guitar cabs to however the band or artist wants it. And also patience as well. That's probably quite a lot.
Alright, so qualifications. Depending on which area you're going to, you should always have qualifications in like music and maths and music and English.
English?
I'm doing. Yeah.
Maths probably would have
Next one, yeah.
You can.
Yeah, so the career kind of, it varies in hours. It's usually about 24 hours at the start. It can go throughout the night and, yeah.
The sort of skills you need to be a studio engineer would be sort of good people skills, because obviously you'll be interacting with people. Obviously you've got to knowledge of sound systems, because things are changing quite quickly these days. And a lot of it, strong or proven experience or a qualification in sound, like an extended diploma. And also, you've also got to be into it as well, because that can sort of be your drive to do it. Thank you for watching.
Cool, thank you. So, once again, while you two guys are still up there, just a few observations I gathered from it. You mentioned about the hours of work being quite unusual, not the traditional 9 to 5. That may be something that really suits a lot of people. You mentioned about going right the way through the night with certain sessions. You might find that that's when you're most creative, and it may be that you're spending a long time on a session to sort of get those real creative ideas flowing. The one thing you mentioned about the salary. Now, just to throw it out there, it's not unusual for a producer to get what's called points. What points are, it's not points mean prizes or anything. Could be if you get a nice holiday out of it, but it will be a percentage of the breakdown of the sales of the units. Once again, like your manager would get 20%, maybe 25% of your overall income. It's not unusual for a producer who might waiver the initial kind of costs, but say, okay, well, I'll do this speculatively, but once it's released, they want to be able to have a percentage of each of those sales. Could be from a songwriter's perspective, or it could be from a performance perspective, or a bit of both. It's not unusual for a producer to actually perform on the tracks as well. You may find that a little bit of programming involved. They're more likely to be musicians 9 times out of 10. But certainly the points element, you can imagine, could be quite favourable to a producer. Rather than having a payment per project, and then maybe the next area might be a little bit barren where they're not getting the work in. But if they have that point system, every time it's played, and then they're getting money into their account via kind of a commission-based sort of structure, then that's going to be good news for them. And it may be the sweetener that you're able to then produce other acts in the future as well. It might be a favourable way of working. But yeah, some good points there. And once again, I think the skill sets are really important with this. You could look at producers in lots of different ways, but I think you'll find that most producers have come from an engineering background. Often musicians, they'll get to know how the equipment works. They'll find they've got a keen ear for that, and they'll work their way through. However, there are some examples that I mentioned, and I was telling James about this. A guy I know by the name of Taz, who isn't industry kind of trained, as it were. He's just got a great pair of ears where he knows what he wants to have on a particular track. And you can get those quite flamboyant producers. You wouldn't find them working in a studio necessarily, though. They would be very much freelance, and they would go to a studio with other people kind of operating the equipment. But yeah, lots of good points there, and lots of courses available. I don't know whether that's on the presentation, but certainly loads of potential with music courses that you could look at if you wanted to pursue that. Don't necessarily need that. Certainly, do you need any qualifications? Perhaps. But is probably as good as your track record. And once again, being good with people, as you mentioned, Callum, is crucial. If you're spending time with someone, you don't want to spend time with an arsehole. Okay, give them a round of applause. Thank you.